Officials in Gaza say dozens more people have been killed in Israeli military operations. Many of the victims died as they waited for food supplies. There's also growing concern about what the hostilities between Israel and Iran could mean for Gaza.
Mourning the loss of their loved ones. They were waiting at one of the 8 distribution sites run by the US and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And according to the people here, they came under fire.
Suddenly, the Israeli army fired a shell and everyone began to flee. Then they bombarded the entire street. Shells came from the sea, the air and from tanks. We were hit from all directions, and one shell landed right beside me.
The Israeli military said it was looking into the reports. Dozens of people have reportedly been killed near such distribution points since Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's operations began last month after almost 3 months of aid blockade.
The choice that people are left with is not a real choice, because risking your life to find food or starving to death is not a choice that anyone should ever face in their life.
According to the UN, the lack of food entering Gaza caused by ongoing Israeli aid restrictions is leaving increasing numbers of Palestinians vulnerable to starvation.
I swear to God, I feed my children bread and salt. I swear to God, this is what's happening in Gaza today.
Exhaustion after a 20-month-long war is evident everywhere. And as the conflict between Israel and Iran escalates, many here are worried about how it will affect them.
We pray to God that the conflict does not expand. We are tired of wars and we bear no guilt in them. The war we are already living through is more than enough, and our situation is dire.
And yet, for the worn-out Gazans, food remains the main concern. And getting it is becoming riskier every day.
Let's now speak to Daniel Gerlach. He is editor-in-chief of Zenith magazine, which focuses on the Arab and Islamic world. Daniel, people in Gaza are worried that the Israel-Iran conflict will shift the world's attention from their plight. Do you have the same concerns?
Absolutely. And I think that's intended to a certain extent. I think the fact that the escalation with Iran overshadows the war in Gaza was a strategic choice by Prime Minister Netanyahu. That's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why he decided to do it now. And moreover, it's not only overshadowing the disastrous situation and the ongoing war in Gaza, but also the situation in the West Bank, where in the last couple of hours you had settlers assaulting Palestinian villages and really making use of this opportunity to create facts on the ground. So yes, it's a very dire situation, and it's also a dire situation for many Palestinian Israelis or Arab Israelis in the north, as you have just described in your film, who are not in line with the policies of Netanyahu, who object and oppose it.
Well, let's talk in very real terms then. I mean, what could happen to the people in Gaza if the international community shifts its attention elsewhere for a sustained period of time?
Well, let's be honest. The international attention on the situation in Gaza hasn't really helped the Palestinians much. Israel, with the support of the United States, has been following up with this makeshift aid distribution institution that is not working at all, also according to the people that are involved in it. It's militarizing humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid is coming in to a scarce amount, and it's not enough to address the humanitarian plight in Gaza. The war is going on within 1 day, while the escalation between Israel and Iran took off on Saturday. 45 people in Gaza were killed by Israeli fire, Palestinians, according to the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. So if you ask yourselves, like, if the international community's attention moves to the Iranian front, you should ask yourself probably what was the international community willing to do before? Apply pressure on the Israeli side to allow humanitarian food into Gaza. That hasn't helped very much, and it doesn't look like US President Trump is willing to do that at the moment, and that is a very dire situation. But beyond that, I think There is an international level where these two crises are connected, and for that we have to look at the Gulf and at the Arab Gulf states.
So let's be clear on this. It sounds like you're saying it doesn't really make a difference whether cameras are pointed at Gaza or they're pointed towards Tehran.
Well, certainly it does make a difference.
So what are you concerned about?
The international I'm certainly concerned about it. Like if you look at the way that that international leaders, for example, French President Macron, a few days ago expressed himself. He was very critical of Netanyahu's policies in Gaza. He called it a shame. He said like this needs to stop immediately. Several international players, Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom and France were increasing their tone. They put sanctions on Israeli extremist government politicians, but they couldn't really stop the war in Gaza. Now, the international, like the Western camp in particular, commends Israel's action on Iran and says it's in the Western interest. So do the United States, so does Germany. And even France has said that they are, in principle, that Israel has France's support when it goes against the Iranian regime. So all of this, of course, is useful for the government of Netanyahu because he can close the ranks again behind him. And that's why he chose that moment. I'm not talking about the impact and the effect of the war on Iran, but about the, let's say, the political circumstances in which it happens. And it seems that he has no intention to reduce the war in Gaza.
You mentioned France. I mean, are these countries likely to continue to support Palestinians despite the Iran-Israel escalation?
Well, President Macron said last Friday at an event where he invited Israeli and Palestinian civil society representatives to the Elysee, he said, like, I'm committed to address this issue. In fact, he insinuated that this would be some of his foreign policy legacies. He and Saudi Arabia were about to hold a conference in New York where France was expected to recognize Palestine as a state in order to kick off a new political process with international support. President Macron said now because of this escalation, because of the Israeli attacks on Iran, they would postpone the conference, and because the Palestinian side, Mahmoud Abbas in particular, could not, under the current circumstances with closed airspaces, travel to New York. So, of course, this has an impact, but now, again, all eyes are on Iran. And in the shadow of this, effects are created on the ground in Gaza and the West Bank. Now, there is a situation when you look at the Arab Gulf states that I mentioned before that were very cooperative and that really wanted to address the issue in Gaza, not only with humanitarian aid, but also provide security guarantees, negotiated with Israel. They're interestingly quite surprised and alienated by the Israeli attack on Iran. It seems that it puts their region really under tension and also hurts their business model. And I think a recognition and rapprochement between the Arab Gulf states and Israel is further away than ever.
Okay, that's Daniel Gerlach, editor-in-chief of Zenith magazine. Many thanks, Daniel.